Hello, my name is Alex Campbell, and you're watching the 8th episode of Dissecting Who. In this episode, we'll be dissecting one of the greatest serials in the history of Doctor Who. The Genesis of the Daleks. So let's fucking do it, people. This serial is pretty much as good as it gets. It's got everything you want in a Doctor Who serial. It's got Tom Baker, it's got... well, that's all it really needs, right?
I've never mentioned that. Hold on a minute. Hello? It's my first wife.
Now, this serial starts off with one of the Time Lords coming to Tom and saying that they want him to do one last mission for them, and that is to destroy the Daleks. Alright, here's the scene with the Time Lord, and pay special attention to his collar. It's pretty subtle, but it's pretty cool.
Continual, we pride ourselves, we seldom interfere in the affairs of others.
Except mine.
You, Doctor, are a special case. You enjoy the freedom we allow you. In return, occasionally, not continually, we ask you to do something for us.
I won't do it.
So the TARDIS doesn't appear in this serial at all, but the Doctor is given a time ring by the Time Lords, and once his objective has been completed, he simply taps the time ring and he's out.
Just a minute. Isn't it extraordinary? Where are you living? What? Lisbon?
Now, I think a lot of the main problems in Hollywood these days is tone. I mean, people just don't know what type of movie they want to create. You have one solid and concise tone and you follow through with that. I think a lot of that problem is too many producers in the kitchen, you know? Too many ideas flowing around. You got all the big wigs upstairs putting their 2 fucking cents in. And this episode knows what it is, what it wants, and the tone is spot on and concise the entire way through.
Are you married again? Yeah? Oh, that's good. Are you happy? Oh.
Now, you might not know this, but back in the day, Doctor Who was a kids show, and it was showed at 6 o'clock at night, and it was kind of a family viewing kind of thing. Now, considering that, I'm going to have a kill count for this episode, and we'll see what we come to by the end, but I think it's going to be rather big.
Don't get all upset. You know, I'm at work. What? Oh, well, there you go. So Philip understood that, you know, and I'm very grateful for it, yeah.
Now this episode is written by Terry Nation, and Terry Nation created the Daleks in the first ever Daleks serial. Now you might say that these themes and tones are a product of the time they were created in, and certainly there are a lot of World War I and II elements within all of the Dalek stories. I mean, the Daleks are basically fucking Nazis, right? They're saluting. When Terry was born, World War II would have still been very reminiscent in people's minds. It would have only just finished. And when Terry was a kid, he would have played in bomb sites, as a lot of people of that generation did. And we can really see those elements of World War II in this serial. And it's not fucking subtle at all. I mean, not at all. Check out this opening scene. That's fucking dark, right?
Ammunition is valuable and cannot be wasted.
Yes, sir.
For instance, when I've finished with these 2 animals, they'll be hanged, not taken out and shot as in the past. Then that will be all. Return to your unit.
Could you imagine the imagery of Tom Baker hanging by his own scarf? That would be brutal. This serial is also the first appearance by Davros. Not only did Terry Nation create the Daleks, but he created Davros. And might I just say, Davros is great in this serial. It's a very important scene where it shows the Doctor and Davros's conflicting ideologies, and this is played out completely through dialogue. This isn't fucking Bruce Willis shooting Hans Gruber, you know. Doctor Who, when people disagree, they talk it out. Davros comes off as a great character, and his ability to act through all of these prosthetics and the wheelchair and all of that is amazing. Really conveys the ideas and ideology of Davros amazingly. And I mean, it still holds up. I mean, I think Davros looks just as good here as he did in one of the new episodes.
Davros, if you had created a virus in your laboratory, something contagious and infectious that killed on contact, a virus that would destroy all other forms of life, would you allow its use?
It is an interesting conjecture.
Would you do it?
The only living thing, a microscopic organism, reigning supreme. A fascinating idea.
But would you do it?
Yes. Yes. To hold in my hand a capsule that contained such power. To know that life and death on such a scale was my choice. To know that the tiny pressure on my thumb, enough to break the glass, would end everything. Yes. I would do it. That power would set me up above the gods. And through the Daleks, I shall have that power!
So a little bit of the backstory in Skaro, if you didn't know. There was a massive nuclear fallout and it's completely irradiated. And from that fallout comes these mutos. Now here's a little bit of a description of these mutos.
Mutos are the scarred relics of ourselves. Monsters created by the chemical weapons used in the first century of this war. They were banished into the wastelands where they live and scavenge like animals.
In other words, genetically wounded.
We must keep the Khaled race pure. Imperfects are rejected. Some of them survive out there.
That's a very harsh policy.
It's horrible. Your views are not important.
Zig hi, zig hi, zig hi! Seriously, they're not subtle about the Nazi ideology, it's right there. Also, I want to talk a little bit about the use of the Daleks and the Cybermen in New Who. Now, I know me personally and several of my friends who are just casual Who viewers, whenever we see a Dalek episode coming up or a Cybermen episode coming up, it's really cringeworthy. It's like, oh, they're doing that again? And I've even heard Stephen Moffat talk about this fact. I just don't understand why, if that's the case, they just don't do them. I mean, Tom Baker was the Doctor for 7 years. And in all that time, in all those serials, in all those episodes, there are only 2 stories with the Daleks. This one and the Destiny of the Daleks. In 7 years. And there's only 1 Cybermen serial in this entire 7-year run of Doctor Who. If that's getting stale, don't use it. I mean, I'm fed up and burnt out with the fucking Daleks. If you don't put them on screen for 5 years, they're going to be way more impactful when they come back. Even though the tone of this serial is very dark, Tom is still Tom. Check this out.
Prisoners' belongings.
Good, well now he's got any chance of a cup of tea.
What?
Or coffee. My friend and I have had a very trying experience. Haven't we had a trying experience, Harry?
Very trying, Doctor.
Step into the security scan.
That's quintessential British ideology, right? I mean, imagine if that was an Aussie be like, got any fucking beer?
Stand where you are and don't move!
serious interrogation. He's like, can we get a cup of tea? So they establish the mutos and how they feel about them. But I mean, it's obvious to me just from the appearance that Davros is a muto. I mean, something's happened to him. There's some genetic deformities there, right? Whatever, man, it's fine. Climb, Elizabeth, climb! Now for me, Old Who has always been really great scripts, really well written ideas, and amazing acting, but the execution has been a bit fuzzy around the edges just because of the time constraints, how long ago it was, and the small budget. But this serial, I mean, the direction and lighting is amazing. There are so many scenes where it's lit so fucking well and it holds up amazingly. This serial doesn't have a downfall like The Ark in Space where the main villains look like shit. Other than these two little snippet scenes of this.
The way through to the wastelands.
Oh no, Harry's being attacked by a clam. So anyway, Davros's people have an uprising and they want to stop his research and have an inquiry into the moral problems with it. And that's basically Davros's obstacles in this serial, other than the Doctor, of course. No, Billy, the Doctor's dead.
Look out, Harry!
Run, the clams! Now this is Tom's fourth serial and he's really come into his own, and the writers and the directors and Tom himself has really figured out his Doctor and how his Doctor is going to be. As I said in my review of Robot, Tom's a bit silly and rough around the edges, but that's because of his regeneration. And in the next two serials, he's kind of downplayed and far more in the background. But really, this is when we start seeing the fourth Doctor.
No! Stop it! No! No! Our intention has always been to make a bloodless revolution.
So there's also this big moral conundrum with the Doctor, and this is a very famous scene. You've probably all seen this scene a lot. But basically, the Time Lords tell him to go back and kill the Daleks. Then he rigs the Dalek incubation room with explosives. And then he has this really great moral dilemma, you know. We're not seeing a fucking action hero run through a building and murder a bunch of European terrorists. This is all about ideology and where we stand and what is right and what is wrong. And we see this conflict right smack bang in the Doctor. He has a chance to kill the Daleks. But should he?
Just touch these two strands together and the Daleks are finished. Have I that right?
To destroy the Daleks, you can't doubt it.
But I do. You see, some things could be better with the Daleks. Many future worlds will become allies just because of their fear of the Daleks.
It isn't like that.
But the final responsibility is mine. Mine alone. Listen, if someone who knew the future pointed out a child to you and told you that that child would grow up totally evil, to be a ruthless dictator who would destroy millions of lives, could you then kill that child?
We're talking about the Daleks, the most evil creatures ever invented. You must destroy them. You must complete your mission for the Time Lords.
Do I have the right?
Now this serial was handed down to Philip Hinchcliffe by Barry Letts and Terrence Dix. They were the outgoing producer and script editor, and Philip Hinchcliffe was the new producer coming in. They thought by handing Daleks serial and Cybermen serial over to the new series, the new Doctor, the new producer, it'd be a good chance for it to work. And I really think that Philip Hinchcliffe's influence on this serial made it what it is today. I mean, originally the opening scene was like in a Chinese garden with like all these fragrant flowers and stuff. And Hinchcliffe was just like, no, let's not do that. If we're going to do the Daleks, we're going to do it dark, we're going to shoot it right, we're going to get the lighting right, and we're going to have the opening scene with a bunch of men in gas masks getting shot down. Let's listen to old Phil for a second, shall we?
There I was, lumbered with two old bloody favourites, you know, that sort of Cyber and the Dark. What? Oh, God, well, this is not really what I want to do. This belongs to another way of doing it, you know. What are we going to do here, you know? I said to David, the first thing I said is, let's make this much more pacey, generally. Let's just make it pacier. We'll edit it pace more in a more... when we see a Dalek, let's not just, you know, see this pepper pot trundling on the studio floor. Let's get low angles and let's make it powerful. Let's find a way of, you know, making it appear more powerful than it really is when you look at it on the studio floor trundling around.
Seriously, Phil, I love you, man. You made the show. I don't care about David Tennant. This serial was directed by Dave Maloney, and as I said before, the lighting and the angles and shots really illustrate how to shoot the Daleks.
The entrance to the bunker is just beyond the next rise. That's where they must be heading.
And how to shoot any Who monster, really. If you get any Who monster in highlights straight there in front of the frame, it's going to look fucking terrible because it's a really bad costume. And I think Philip Hinchcliffe had a lot to do with this new approach to this serial.
Doctor, are you all right?
Daddy, is that monster going to kill the Doctor? Yes, son, the Doctor has most certainly been strangled to death. So being as this show was showed at 6 p.m, and a lot of kids and families used to watch it, there were a lot of complaints that came into the BBC. And maybe justly. I mean, the show had changed and evolved and it had really moved on to a new level. Let's hear Tom's opinion on these people saying it was too dark.
Well, some of the things about television is you must remind yourself that for television you can go very much further in frightening children or putting frightening things on than you can in a cinema because of the informal context. It happens at home. It happens when the children are looking at the camera, like the receiver like that. And then if they get frightened and look there, there's fish fingers and there's their granny or whatever it is. So you can go very much further. The other thing is, of course, the children watch things on many levels, don't they? And they quite like being frightened in the security of their own house. In other words, they often pretend to be more frightened than they are. All this stuff about hiding behind the sofa, you know, is often done with the children. It became a participatory program because the children would hide behind a sofa or you know, look through the crack of the door, knowing perfectly well that their grannies were enjoying this whole charade that was going on. So they weren't just watching in that innocent way, they were taking part in it.
You know, I tend to agree with Tom. I watched a lot of dark, scary movies when I was a kid. I remember seeing Terminator 2 and Die Hard and Indiana Jones when I was like 9. My friends were watching Bambi and I was like, what the fuck is wrong with you people?
And so when they were very frightened, the little ones used to actually bury their heads in their grannies like that. And the grannies, of course, loved that. And for that reason, of course, grannies loved me. I'm still quite sexually attractive to women over about 87.
Now this is the actor who played Davros, and hear him do the Dalek voice. I mean, they haven't even put the ring modulation or any of the distortions on yet.
This voice at the other end said, can you do a Dalek voice? And I said, of course. Total confidence, yes, of course. Yes. I do a Dalek voice, do any voice. For £25, I'll do anything you like, you know. And they said, well, can you give us a sample of your Dalek voice? I said, certainly, I am speaking on the telephone in a Dalek voice now. Dalek voices are quite easy because there are only basically 3.
Yeah, he's pretty much there. In conclusion, this is all what I want to see from a Doctor Who serial. If you like Doctor Who and you haven't seen the genesis of the Daleks, it's one of the greats. It's one of those serials that defines what Doctor Who is, and you should really sit down and watch it. It's 6 parts and it's about 2 hours, and it really is an amazingly concise and effective piece of cinema. Thank you. I appreciate you for watching. I would help out even more if you could like, subscribe, and in the comments, you can tell me what a cunt I've been!
Hands on the time ring.
You don't seem too disappointed. We failed, haven't we?
Failed? No, not really. You see, I know that although the Daleks will create havoc and destruction for millions of years, I know also that out of their evil must come something good.